All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for our coordinator avail. We'll go ahead and get started with defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer. And I see Leo Haggerty's got his hand raised already. So, Leo, you could start us off.
Thank you, Brian. Coach, after the game and you watched the films, did you find any positives? And if so, what were they?
Yes. Yeah, there was positives. Thought definitely the first quarter, on the road, frantic. They were going tempo. We were on the field quite a bit. Thought we responded well and got off the field a couple of times. Had a couple of third downs, could have been off the field. So we got them in some long yard situations. We're tackling better during the first half, really, of the game. So you have to look at that a little bit, but most of it's just looking at the negatives and what caused us to give up so many points and how to fix it. So that's where you show them enough to say, hey, you guys can see when you function, you play well, and you tackle what can happen. And then on the flip side, you saw how quick a game could get out of hand if you don't.
Joey Johnston. Joey, your mic's off.
Can you hear me now?
We got you now.
Okay. Coach, you've got two guys down in the secondary with injuries. I'm just curious what that means in terms of how you deploy your guys. Do you switch people around? Is it just next man up at those positions? How do you move forward?
Yeah, we've had a couple critical situations, with some key guys that we're counting on to produce for us. Probably one of the most disturbing things that I look at after the game is we only have 15 players that played 8 or more snaps. So that's an issue. That's an issue with a physical game and a lot of reps in the game. We as coaches have to find more guys that can contribute, that we have confidence in of going to be out there to make plays for us. Those issues are pretty glaring when you play against good, talented teams. And I point the finger back at us. You got to get yourself off the field. Those third downs and those situations where you can be on the sideline, getting a blow, getting a rest, and working some things out. That you let them extend drives, and it's a snowball effect, especially with a team that we don't have. A full 2 deep that we can roll in 22 guys right now, 23 guys, 24 guys. We need to find those guys, and I challenge those guys to get play. So we have to earn that in practice during the week.
Yeah.
So we'll.
Good. There you go.
That is?
Yep.
Sorry about that. I didn't do that, I promise. It wasn't me.
That was my fault, Coach. Sorry.
Ron out there sabotaging me.
That's right. Will Turner, go ahead.
Coach, good afternoon. I thought your defensive linemen did some really good things shedding blocks in the first quarter against NC State. How encouraging was it to see those guys kind of get off of blocks quick and make some havoc in the backfield, especially in that first quarter?
Yeah, you kind of look at the positives. And one of my positives I went over with Coach was I thought our defensive line played really violently. And, they had 6 or 7 offensive linemen that they felt real good about, touted as a couple of the better ones in the ACC. It's just an endurance factor with those guys. And again, we got to find more guys that can contribute with those 3 or 4 that played most of the game, those 70-something snaps. You got to find a way to give them some relief, some breaks. That's been a big point of emphasis this week, just to try to pull it out of some guys. You guys got to work hard in practice. You got to earn it. We cannot survive a season if we don't have more guys that can contribute. But very, very proud of how violently you're down the trenches. It all starts there. And I don't think we were getting shoved around like you said in the first half. I thought those guys were holding their own, and later on in the game, some of those stretches, we were kind of getting reached out of our gaps and didn't hold gap responsibility like we would in the first half. Like I said, it kind of
and especially for those guys, NC State, obviously they had 38 first half snaps, but 23, 24 of those came in the opening quarter. I mean, was it just one of those things where fatigue ended up getting to those guys, you think?
Yeah, that's part of it. And again, it's on us. The first third down, we tip a ball and we have a guy there that goes to the second guy, and they continue that drive. Later on that drive, they got us on a wheel right out of the backfield with a great thrown ball, and had one of our better players covering it, and he dropped it in there. And I think you saw just the biggest stat for me, and I was really worried about it because the running backs are really good. Some of the better backs in that league. We missed, I had 20 tackles missed, and a lot of those missed tackles, ran into explosive plays, and runs over 20, and we gave up 8 explosive plays running, 2 passing. So can't win a lot of games like that. So we have to limit those plays and tackle better this week to have any kind of chance.
Any other questions for Coach Spencer before we let him go?
I'll ask one more, Coach, just about, your quarterbacks between or the quarterback situation for Florida between Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson. Obviously 2 very elusive guys that can pull the ball very well, but very similar skill sets. As you go through practice this week, how are you looking to prepare to keep those guys from, maybe breaking off a big run as they did late in the game last week?
Well, they did first drive. They converted on a big third down, first drive of him pulling it down. But, that's – if you go back and you look at Emory's tape of every game he played last year, the reps that he was in, he was giving everybody trouble doing that. And the other kid, Richardson's just the same. He's probably bigger and faster. So you have to treat it like Wildcat in the aspect of that's like another running back in the backfield. But you got another running back that can throw the ball to some talented receivers. So but we don't have anybody on our scout team that can emulate that. So done the best we can. A couple of times today, I just tell the guy, go back and take off. Don't even think about throwing the ball. Just find an open gap. You rush forward, there's still 2 open gaps, right? So I said, just take off and try to get everybody to converge. And, a big factor Saturday is going to be when they do, take off. How good can you get it contained and bottled up? They're going to get their yards doing that. They've done it with everybody that played. But can you keep that from, in a critical situation, can you get them down to get off the field? Critical situation, can you have somebody make that play by themselves? But coaching-wise, you have to converge on it. You have to get everybody. You have to kind of be in some coverages where you have eyes on the box and teaching your D linemen to do their job. And you can't go rogue and just run up the field 10 yards. All those little aspects. It's like last week. They got great athletes, and you really have to play almost a perfect game, to have a chance. I play perfect, but you have to execute extremely well on these things I'm talking about. And that's been the challenge this week, and motivation for getting us ready to try to win a game.
Thank you, Coach.
Joey Johnson.
Coach, Andrew Mims led you in tackles last week with 14. He had a big game in the last game of last year. He's worked himself from a walk-on to a key player. How's he gone about doing that, and what do you think about his importance on your defense?
I'm glad you asked about it. Yeah, I didn't realize exactly right. He probably had the best game of his career that UCF game last year. And just the physicality, you should have seen him in the locker room after that game. I didn't know how many tackles he had. I knew he was in on a lot and playing well. And, he's having to play off big offense, 300-pounders, tight ends, hitting them from every side. And he made a couple of remarkable plays where he had to kind of stick a foot and dip and rip back in and really made a play that wasn't even going to be his, supposedly, how you draw it up. Just happy and proud, where he came from and believing, in himself. And, in today's world of instant gratification, or you cry about it and go home, or you have to go somewhere else if you don't get what you want right now. And boy, I came in, and when I came in, he was a walk-on. And, when the discussion came up after watching him practice and how he worked in the weight room, it's my vote. We need this kid on this team, and he needs to be rewarded. So that's just a neat story, right? And it goes back to, I preach authentic toughness, not keyboard toughness, but authentic toughness. And that's what it is. And everybody in the locker room, right down the hall, they recognize that. And that's why he's very quiet, very cerebral kid, but very quiet. And just proud of him. That's what college football is all about.
J.J. Garrett.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. Just a quick question. I know you mentioned the 20 missed tackles by your defense, and with Florida having the two quarterbacks and then a handful of running backs that they're probably going to throw at you like they did last Saturday with FAU. How are you in the game plan with rotating the players going to try to minimize that as the game goes on?
That's a good question. That is the question of the week, right? You work tackling drills in practice. You worked a new one today. Discipline. If you think they don't have it made, they don't go full padded. Bring them down tackle during the week. This time of year. You look at effort, pursuit angles. So it's nothing that. It's not going uncoached. Trust me, it's not going to be perfect Saturday either. You just said, right? We're playing against some great players, some of the most highly recruited players in the nation. So we've got our work cut out for us. But you just try to lean on their motivation to do what they do and do not, don't go down and tackle somebody's ankles. And when the time comes, you got to look it in. You got to bring your arms and your feet on contact and pursuit angles and where's your help, right? Where's your leverage at? And there's a talk for 20 minutes on tackling, but you're right. I mean, that is, I wasn't trying to be funny. That is the question. And that's until it happens on a Saturday and you see it better live in another live situation, that question mark is still there. And that's why I challenge my guys. They have to prove themselves. To be better tacklers, and we as coaches have to get it out of them to be the best tacklers they can be. They can't be somebody they're not, but they can be the best tackler that they can be, and that's what we're in the process of trying to get done.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. We'll get Coach Weis in here.
Guys.
All right, we'll take questions for Coach Weis. We'll start with Leo Haggerty again.
Coach, after the game Saturday, did you see any positives on the film? And if so, what were they?
Absolutely, we did. I think overall, we didn't play our best on Thursday night. And so that's the thing that we got to work towards doing. But there certainly were some positives to build from. I thought up front, our offensive line, they handled NC State well. We weren't overpowered up front. Our center, Brad Cecil, did a great job with his identifications and getting us in the right spots in the run game and in protections. Overall, I thought they did a good job up front of being physical and blocking them and doing the things that we were asking them to do. We also made, Weaver was a bright spot for sure, making a couple plays on the deep balls down the field. And that's something that we saw from him in practice throughout spring and fall camp. So certainly was not surprised by that. That was a positive. We just got to connect on a few more of those balls to some other receivers and hit a couple more. But overall, there definitely were some bright spots. We just got to execute better, and we just got to play our best when we come out against Florida on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Will Turner.
Good afternoon, Coach. Obviously, this game is going to be won within the trenches between their running game and obviously your running game.
Absolutely.
Do you see guys like Brian Battie and Kelly Joyner who got 11 and 8 snaps around that area? Do you see them playing more of an impact this week? To try and just keep them off balance or some of your looks?
Definitely. I think, we got confidence in all 4 of those running backs that we play. And it's kind of a game plan thing, which ones are going to get, the majority of the snaps and all of that right there. So playing NC State, very, 3-down team, very physical, maybe a little bit more interior run game stuff. We're playing some of the bigger guys, but I think certainly you can see, both Bat and Kelly getting a bunch of snaps, and they both perform well, in their opportunities. So we love all 4 of those guys. It really just kind of depends on, what the run game is in that week, how the course of the game is going, what we're asking of those guys. But I definitely think you'll see those guys playing a good bit this week.
And then to follow up, you're playing a defensive line with, a lot of size, a lot of speed. Zach Carter obviously had, a great game against Florida Atlantic. Jervon Dexter is huge, and all the way down to 400-pound Desmond Watson. I mean, you've got to just pick your poison almost.
For sure.
What can you do against a defensive line to keep some of those guys from making impacts?
Yeah, first off, their defensive line is phenomenal. Their ends, tackles, all across the board. Florida's defense is extremely well coached, extremely disciplined, and they get after it. They get up the field and they create havoc, TFL, sacks, and all that stuff right there. And so you certainly have to, find different ways to slow them down. And, whatever way that might be in our game plan, you got to utilize different run plays, different pass plays, whatever it may be. Obviously, I think that's one of the main strengths of their defense. So we have to just do a great job of executing our plan and the different ways that we can utilize in order to slow those guys down. There's certainly things that you can do. It's just about going out there and executing and doing that. But regardless, that defensive line, we're going to have to come to play, and we're going to have to come and be physical and match their physicality, strength, and speed. So it's a great challenge. But I love our offensive line. Those guys do a great job for us up front, and I expect them to play well.
Joey Johnston.
Charlie, Coach Scott said yesterday that you were going to use Timmy McClain in the game, but you used him probably earlier than you thought.
Right.
So and both will play here. So as you get into a game, is it a feel thing for knowing how you use them? I'm sure you have a plan, but you got to adjust to it. So is it just kind of how the game flows? Yeah,
there's obviously a plan going in. And I think, like they said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And obviously we got punched in the mouth a little bit to start. And, Timmy came in and did some good things for us. But we will definitely have a plan, going against Florida. And, we certainly have, package plays for Timmy that are definitely for him and things that he's going to do. But we have confidence in him, running everything that we have. So he's just got to be ready to go. And I expect Cade to come out and have a great performance and play his best when we come out on Saturday. But we definitely have a plan. And then, through the course of the game, you obviously have to understand the flow and how the game's going and what's needed for us to do the best job that we can do to win the game.
And also, the way you started the game, I think it was like 5 possessions were essentially 3 and outs. But the first play of the game was a 16-yard run by Darian Felix that was well executed, looked great.
Yeah.
What worked well to make that happen on that first play that, seemed like it got you guys set up to roll a little bit?
Yeah, so they came out in their, base front. They were in their 3-down front playing cover 3. which was the top call that we expected them to run. It was a run scheme that we had put in over the summer. I think we kind of in the offseason study saw we were a little bit, too heavy maybe on the zone stuff. So we want to come out and hit a gap scheme run. It was a good opportunity for us to pull two of our best players. So we were pulling Meach and big Trey Jacobs. So we pulled both of those guys right there. Meach was our kick out block on the overhang backer. Trey Jacobs was pulling for the front side linebacker. So we were able to get those both done. Brinkman did a great job getting to the backside backer. And so the free player was the middle field safety and then the backside safety right there in their cover 3 call. So it was very well executed. Players did a great job. Meach and Trey did a great job on their pulls, like I said. So it's definitely a good play to get us going. Obviously disappointing that we didn't finish the drive after that.
And one more thing on that, because of the way the game flowed, maybe you didn't establish the run like you might have wanted. You saw bits and pieces. So was it just kind of you liked what you saw in small doses of the running game? Is that how you evaluate it?
Yeah, definitely. NC State, they're going to have a 7-man box. And so you had to do a good job of, kind of getting some schemed up runs like that. And they did a good job. They kind of adjusted their front a little bit after that first one. So we had to go to a couple of different gap scheme runs. We just didn't execute a couple of times where, we thought we could have had something there. But overall, I think just for us, knowing now that, some of the things that they did really, really good job up front, we can establish the run and do a good job running the football. And that's obviously just got to be a focus for us as coaches to make sure to stick to that and get that going to help our quarterbacks out a little bit.
Thank you.
AJ Garrett.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. Just a question about your quarterbacks. I know things didn't go as planned on Thursday with Cade, but the looks were there. How would you say those coaching points and coaching talks went with him and with Timmy over there, like since he broke out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously for both of those guys, for Cade, it's been, even though he's an older guy, it had been, I think, 3 years since his last start. So I think just seeing some things for the first time in game reps and all of that, he definitely knows he can play better, and he did a great job taking the coaching and looking at the film. And same with Timmy. And now, look at things too, and maybe a look I could have given them in practice to help them out a little bit better, or maybe there's a receiver that could have done something a little bit better on each play. So I think, overall, the biggest thing for us offensively looking at is there's a bunch of little things that we missed and we can do a little bit better job of. And if we go out and execute those details when we go out against Florida, we're going to be able to have a much better performance than we did against NC State. But I love both of those guys. Both Timmy and Cade do a phenomenal job for us, and, taking coaching, learning from things. And I fully expect them to both, have a great game when we play Florida.
Any other questions for Coach Weis this morning? This afternoon, I guess it is. Okay. Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe out there.